Hello and welcome to the Best Today podcast. I'm your host, Shantae Grant, and today we're going to talk about limits and limitations. I saw a few memes. You know how you see something once and it's kind of like, that kind of annoys you a little bit, but you keep moving on. Then you see it again and you see it iterated in a different way. And you're like, okay, I got to say something about this, right? And what I was seeing was this message that my optimist self will say of people motivating others through these words of saying like, you're limitless. There's no limit to what you can do and things in that vein. And while at best, I get the sentiment, I want to use truth when I encourage others. And that's what I try to do here on the podcast. That's what I do in my life. And I want us to just be careful of not overshooting to the point of you lying, right? Because the truth of the matter is you are not limitless. We're humans. We're not machines. We're not God. There are limits to what you can do, and there are limits to what I can do. There are limits in our lives. Our life is actually filled with limits, right? That's part of being humans. That's something that in many ways might be a great equalizer. There are limits to your capacity, to your energy, to your resources, to your time. Our bodies are not limitless. There are limits. However, there's still good news, right? And that good news is that there are lots of things that can exist and happen for you within the limitations of your humanity, of being a human. And for me, the problem that I have seeing a message of telling people and feeding people the things that hype them up that they want to hear, because I was about to say this, but the book that I talked about a few episodes ago, Psychology of Money, he touches on this. People don't mind being lied to, right? If you want to believe something, you will. If you want to believe something bad enough, you will believe it. And all it takes is someone else to kind of feed into that thing you want to believe. And even if in your real mind, this is not true, but it's something you want to believe, you will believe it. And that actually made me think about something else I heard on the internet. And it was just this a woman, she was saying she was talking to a guy friend of hers, and he asked, and he told her, I don't have to lie to women because if she likes me enough, she'll lie to herself. And bars. Similar thing. How'd I get on this vein? None of this is in my notes, but it's all coming from a place of, I don't want you to be a person who's willing to believe something that isn't true just because you want to hold on to it. Because in no way is that going to help you in your life. Truth might hurt, but truth is always going to be the thing for you. And it's always going to be the thing from me. Okay. And the truth is, you are not limitless. I am not limitless. Limits aren't bad either. That's another thing. Last week, we talked about small not being a bad thing. Let's remove the negative connotations. But limits are not also a bad thing. Many times limits help to protect us so that we can live the life of health and wealth that we might desire. Right. And so the problem with thinking that there are no limits is it begins to make you operate that way, right? And if you operate without limits, that means you might be operating without healthy boundaries. You might think, well, there's no limit on what I can make, so I'm just keep spending and then I can just make some more tomorrow. And for some people, that might very well be true. But at some point, you going to find a day where that is not true for you, right? So let's not act like there's no limits. There are limits on your time. If you act like there are no limits on your time or what you can do, you might overbook, overplan, overcommit yourself, and then wonder why overwhelm comes knocking at your door. Hey sis, you called? You invited me over when you start overbooking all the things, over planning, doing all the things, saying yes, because you believe that there are no limits. You are not limitless. I am not limitless. We operate in a world, in a body of limits, right? If you don't believe me, I want you to go pull a Forrest Gump. Just go outside and start running and never stop. You know why you're going to stop at some point? We have limits, right? And accepting and understanding limitations is one of the first, actually maybe the first. I think it was one of the first principles that I taught recently in the workshop series we did, the series that was in October was on the basics of planning. And I gave like 10 foundational grounding principles we have to agree on before we even get to talking about planning. Like before we talk about planning, before I teach you these things, I need me and you to agree on these 10 things. And one of the very first one was you have to understand that we have limitations. Because I know if I don't get you to agree to that, you're going to be that, like I said, the over planning, overbook. Oh, I can do that. Oh, add it on. Yeah, I'll do that. Yes, I can take on that. Oh, you need me to do that? Yes, 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 yes. Yes, 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 yes. Boundaries nowhere to be seen. There are limits. And limits are our friends, right? Your season of life may very well be a limitation. But again, the whole point that I want to get across in this episode, I'm keeping it short, is limits aren't evil or meant to harm you. Not the limits I'm referring to, right? They are boundaries that we get to operate within. That's what I want you to think about limits to be, right? They are boundaries that I get to operate within, like a budget, right? If I say I have $100 to spend on lunch with friends for the month of November, then guess what? I could look at that as like, man, I can't do nothing. That's not true. You got $100 to spend. Ching, 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 right? Boom, boom, boom. At Best Today, we exist to help women just like you be your best one today at a time. So each week on the podcast, we are going to highlight your stories and your voices. So let's see what's in the inbox today. Today, we have a 5-star review of the Best Today workshop series coming from Catherine. She writes, Shantae's Best Today workshops never disappoint. And the September workshop, The Compass versus the Clock, was no exception. The concept of a compass has helped me to visualize whether my choices each day are guiding me in the direction I desire to go in life, or am I making choices that are sending me in the totally opposite direction I want it to go? And what changes can I make to get back on track? A well-defined compass can help me make more intentional use of the clock. Sometimes I do feel like I am fighting against the clock, so this workshop was exactly what I needed right now. Thank you for offering these workshops. Thank you so much, Catherine, for taking the time to leave a 5-star review. She was specifically referring to our September workshop, The Compass versus the Clock, which if you're listening in real time, you can still get right now by going to besttoday.co. It will be under workshops. So besttoday.co/workshops if you're listening in real time. If you're listening not outside of real time, we'll have in the link below how you can get access to that workshop. It is where I taught how to stop living your life being dragged by the clock, by your to-dos, by time, and ignoring the compass, which let me not get into it here. You can go read all about it on the website, besttoday.co. We'll link to it in the show notes so you can find it directly just by wherever you're listening. Scroll down. We'll have it linked for you. Thank you again for that 5-star review of the September workshop, The Compass versus the Clock, Catherine. Truly appreciate you and truly appreciate all of you who continue to leave 5-star reviews for the things that we offer you at Best Today. Leaving a review not only helps people who are looking on the website, it is an encouragement to us and a reminder. We love hearing your words put how the products and resources that we have created, how they're actually helping you in your real and actual lives. That for me is the best part of the work that I do, is seeing the life change in you. So thank you so much, Catherine. I celebrate you. And thank you to everyone who continues to leave reviews. You can always go to besttoday.co, go to the product and leave a review at any time. If I look at it as my limit is 100, I get to operate all the way from 1 to 99, actually from 1 to 100. That's a lot of space. I mean, in today's economy, that's not going to be too many lunches, but you get what I'm saying, right? Right? That's if you're ignoring all the space of 1 to 100, that's a lot of space, right? But it's a boundary to protect me from not being broke or to protect me from spending money I don't have. Just an example that I think we all can relate to, right? That's a limit. We have limits. There are boundaries, but we get to operate within them, right? So the sooner you can understand what your boundaries are or what your limits are, whether that's financially, seasonally, is it temporally? Is that for time? With your time, your energy, capacity, resources, relationally, then you can decide what you desire to do within those limits, and operating within them actually sometimes is what allows them to expand. I'm going to say that again. When you learn how to operate within your limits, many times it's operating well and consistently within your limits is what allows them to have opportunity to expand and grow. But even there will always be limits because we're humans. And the whole point of this episode is one, to make you aware that there are limits. Please don't believe the hype that they're not. Okay. Number two, that's not a bad thing, right? They're there to protect you, and let's honor them. Let's be aware of them. And then number three, let's embrace what freedom is found within the limits. Because my question that I want to leave you with, because I'm about done, is, are you honoring the limits of your life? Maybe you haven't even acknowledged what they are. And are you honoring them, or are you complaining about them? Let's honor them, because maybe when you learn to function and operate well within them, that's what will give you the space for them to expand. And then let's talk about this. Have you put limits on your limits? So you actually are operating in smaller than your limits are, right? So your limit is like a circle the size of a hamburger bun, but you operate in size, but you've put yourself in quarter size limits. And it's like, so have you put limits on your limits? So maybe you're operating as if your limits are less than they are, which in itself, well, is limiting, right? Are you operating below your limits? I guess is another question for you to think about here. And this can apply in so many different ways to your life, but I just want it to be a voice counteracting this sentiment that, I understand. Let's encourage people I'm going to encourage you to, get clear on, the things that matter to you in your life and what rules and what leads and what guides you in your life. Let's get clear on those things. Let's be excited for whatever it is that you are purposed to do, or whatever that might look like. But let's not be out here like, I ain't got no limits, right? Because you do. I do. You do. It comes with humanity. But limits aren't saying you can't do the things you want to do. Just understand that even in the pursuit of them, there are limits. That's what I want to be a voice out to say, to counteract what's telling you the opposite. Because while it might be nice to hear, does it actually lead you to act with wisdom? And does it work out in your favor? Most of the time, I'm going to say no, right? So that's my episode for you. I want you to understand you're not limitless, but the good news is you don't have to be. You don't need to be. And many times the limits are there for your protection so that you actually can grow, and then your limits can continue to expand. All right, let's talk about this episode over in the Best Today community. That's what I got for you today. You can join me in the Best Today community at the link down here in the show notes. Just scroll wherever you're listening. You'll see the link. The Best Today community is our actively engaged community. It is the number one place to be if you are on the journey of living a life of intention, prioritizing your mental, emotional, physical health. We were not meant to do life alone. Come join us in the Best Today community. Inside, you're going to find encouragement, support, live calls, co-working hours, guided journal prompts, a video resource library exclusive to those of us in the community, my live class curriculum that I've created to help you get clear on who you are and what you want, and teach you how to honor that season, that limitation we talked about. All of this and more is available to you in our private community, and everything inside the community is free to you once you are a member and inside of the community. You can access the community online, on your phone, on your tablet, on both Apple and Android devices. So go over to besttodaycommunity.com, and remember, if you ever order the Best Today guide, your first month is free inside of the community. I'll link to that in the show notes. And thank you so much for being present with me in this week's episode of the Best Today podcast. Please remember that everything I do here on the podcast and within Best Today is to help you to live well. So to learn more about how to get started with Best Today resources, you can go to besttoday.co/quiz. And if you'd like to hear more from me, I invite you to join my online publication, which is called For Those on the Journey. That's who I write for, you. And that's at forthoseonthejourney.com. We'll link to both in the show notes as well. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Make sure to stick around if this is your first episode listening to. There are 142 before it waiting for you. Again, thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you on the next episode. If you enjoyed this week's episode of the Best Today podcast, you are going to love the Best Today Guide. Our Better Than a Planner guide teaches you how to get clear on what you want, identify your self-destructive habits and behaviors, and intentionally create space to prioritize yourself every single day. Don't go the journey to being your best one today at a time without the Best Today Guide. See inside its pages and order yours today at besttodayguide.com. Even better, when you order the Best Today Guide, we gift you with your first month free inside of the Best Today membership. So what are you waiting for? We're giving you everything you need to trade busy for intention. Go to besttodayguide.com and order yours today and join thousands of women across the globe proclaiming each day, this is what my best today looks like.